language of rock, from bedrock to alluvium, is landscape. The language of tree, from the roots to the crown, is forest. The language of the Wynantskill is water.
From the class of 58, 59, and a lot of them are still around
Still here,
Yeah,
yeah.
They're still here, or their families are still here, or whatever,
And then when it get to be September, none of us wanted to go back to Melrose. We wanted to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, my father sold the house in Avenue Way in Melrose, and we all moved out here. And it took me the longest time to get used to living on Route 43 compared to Glass Lake Road.
Oh, yeah.
Because I used to go to sleep with the waves hitting the dock at me.
I can hear the road, Route 43, and the lawnmower, and the red-winged blackbirds. And there was a heron and a turtle, painted turtle. The interlaken, where the Wynantskill begins.
This coarse gray rock forms the basis of more than half the county. It is perfectly insulated and lies upon the argillite like a huge turtle upon the beach, its back forming the middle and elevated part of the county. This village is the site of an extensive manufactory of window glass, established in 1805 by a company incorporated for that purpose. There are two large houses, one for the making of cylinder and the other for crown glass, with all the necessary appendant buildings for every part of the work connected with this branch of manufacture. Here are 34 dwellings, all of which, excepting 4, belonging to the company, and present, together with the many shops, etc., an interesting spectacle. A small natural pond adds a pleasing diversity, and its outlet, winding among the rocks and huge blackened temples of manufacturing industry, supplies the mills connected with the establishment. These various works employ about 100 hands and consume about 20,000 cords of wood annually. A turnpike road, now opening from this village to Steventown Hollow and the opulent farming towns on the east, will probably prove highly beneficial to its interests.
Beginning at an iron bolt set in the easterly end of a large rock in the south line of the Glass House lot, now or formerly owned by A.R. and S.H. Fox, and runs thence south 12 degrees in 15 minutes, east 3 chains and 63 links to a stake and stones, thence south 33 degrees, east 3 chains and 75 links to a marked hemlock tree, thence south 19 degrees and 45 minutes, east 1 chain and 44 links to a marked beech tree, thence west 1 chain and 42 links to a stake and stones, thence south 44 degrees and 15 minutes, west 4 chains and 54 links to a marked rock oak tree, thence south 47 degrees and 15 minutes, west 6 chains.
It's generally admitted that wood for fuel has risen in value for 10 years past, As well in Albany as in other populous towns in this vicinity, at least 10% per annum, and in Albany, for 3 years past, some say 15, 20, or 25% yearly. And hickory loads, containing about 1/3 of a cord, have been selling in Albany and Hudson for an average price of $3 to $4 during a part of each winter for several years past. Why will not the farmers at least try an experiment? Woodlands are now worth more than the same quality of land under tolerable cultivation, including buildings, fences, and every improvement. And yet, little or no care is taken to replace the consumption.
Yeah.
My grandfather had made charcoal pits.
Oh my gosh.
And so this is the start of all the wood. And that's what it looks like after they have it built and they pack dirt around it. My grandfather, even though he had, his own, a truck and all that, all the work was done, even mowing his fields and raking the hay and hauling all this wood was done by the team of horses.
Wow.
And that's not so long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. A strong link to the 19th century.
Yeah.
And it would come in bales, these huge bales, and they would throw arms full of this in a machine, and it had a roller with thousands of needles on, one going one way and one the other way, and they would just rip that all apart. Then at the other end, it'd come out like cotton candy.
Mm-hmm.
The card room, that was interesting. They would blow the material after they ripped it all apart. Then it would go down to the mixing room, and they'd mix the cotton with the wool, whatever the blend had to be. And then they would blow it through the pipes from the lower mill to the upper mill. And it would come into the card room up near the ceiling. You had to stay in there, and you had to walk around like it was snowing in there. Keep separating that all the while you were packing it down so you could get out. And then when you got out, you look like Santa Claus because you're from the sweat and everything, your face, your hair, your clothes was covered with cotton. So then from there, you would put it into what they called the card machine. You'd open the door and you'd grab an armful of cotton and you'd fill this thing that looked like a small dumpster. You'd fill that up with that cotton, and that would go through the machines, and it would come out the other end. I think it was 30 ends, like yarn. And it would roll around these huge, huge rollers. And then they would send that upstairs, and then the whole process of making the yarn, they would wind it on the spools. And then the spinners, that was interesting to see. From the class of 58, 59, and a lot of them are still around
Still here, yeah.
They're still here, or their families are still here, or whatever,
There's a lot of history here, and I just wish people would, like you, take the time to sit down and read things. Read things.
Growing up here, people are just wonderful. It was just a great, great community,
Esther too.
Esther too. It's interesting that the spinning is separate from the sewing, and there were only 2 spinners at that time.
They're spinning their own wool or their own thread, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess because it was a machine that just kept up with the sewing room.
Right.
Clayton Barnum, they're all related to Barnum and Bailey service people. They have a family get together once a year over in Massachusetts somewhere all the time. But, there's not that many of them left. Dibble, that was another one. Mr. Dibble. He used to walk up to Glass Lake and every spring bring his shotgun with him, and snakes used to come up through the spillway there on Glass Lake Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would shoot them. Some of these shoemakers I just barely know. I know Hal Shoemaker because we grew up together, and his brothers. There's a lot of interesting things here. People don't realize.
Yeah. for sure.
Boulders, like gravestones, signaling rupture. The layering of the bedrock, the babbling of the soil, the vivacity of the forest. The Wynantskill gathers our water from the marshes, ponds, and lakes, from the impenetrable green wood to the Hudson River. Our industrial cemetery surrounds us. The gossamer entanglement of daily lives warped upon landscape, celebrating